What's up everyone, my name is Ina and I'm a wedding and portrait photographer based in Toronto, Ontario. And I'm here to talk a little bit about my process going from digital to film. So recently I picked up a Leica M6 and I've had it for about 3 months now, and I've had the chance to use it just walking around my neighborhood. I had a couple of elopements, but since we're in a lockdown still here in Ontario, I haven't been able to run it through full wedding days, but I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about my experience, especially as a digital photographer who has had zero experience with film before. This was super fun and super challenging, so I'm excited to share what I learned and hopefully inspire other photographers who are currently using the digital format to not be super afraid of trying out film. And yeah, so let's get started. So I decided to pick up a Leica M6 for several reasons. Firstly, because we have been in a lockdown here in Ontario for over a year now, and it's been super difficult not being able to be creative and feeling kind of uninspired to shoot. So I kind of wanted to put myself outside of my comfort zone and try something totally new, hoping that it would have re-inspired my love for photography. And yeah, so that was one of the reasons that I decided to pick up the Leica M6 and a 35mm Leica lens. This is the pre-asph one. So it was a little bit less expensive than the newer models, but I decided to give it a try, and I'm excited to show you a little bit about how the photos turned out. So another reason that I decided to incorporate film into my work moving forward is because I was always trying to replicate this beautiful nostalgic feeling through the digital format, and it was super difficult to do. I think I just fell in love with the way that real film looked, and I wanted to give it a try and see if it was a real option for me to incorporate into wedding work. And the third reason that I decided to try out film in my wedding work is because I really wanted to slow down as a photographer. I found that with digital, I was really overshooting and I was kind of not thinking as much about the composition, just because it's so easy to take a zillion photos within minutes through digital, and you just get really comfortable with that. But with film, it really makes you slow down because everything is manual focus. So that's another reason that I decided to try out film, just for my personal life, but also for my wedding work. So the first roll that I decided to run through my Leica was an expired roll of Portra 400. I had no idea how this was going to turn out because that roll was already expired for over a year. I wasn't sure how the colors would look, but I thought it was a really good chance to practice figuring out how the rangefinder system works and how to focus properly. So I decided to go one morning to High Park in my neighborhood and just take pictures of trees and whatever else I could find, just to figure out how the camera works and hopefully come out with some good images. So I sent this in for development, and here are a few of my favorite images that did come out. Now, one thing that I figured out after getting back these scans was that in some of the images there was this kind of blurriness and this weird kind of Gaussian blur. I'm not sure if I really liked it. I don't know if that was because I was shooting at a 1.4 aperture, but as soon as I tried to push my aperture to between like 4 and I don't know, like 4 and 10, it was actually a lot better and more things were in focus. And less of this blur effect happened. So if anyone can give me some tips about this and why this happened in these photos, I would love to know, but I was a little bit disappointed with the scans that I received. They weren't super sharp. I also don't know if it was because of the expired film, if that affects the sharpness in any way, but if anyone can give me some insight about that, I would love to hear it. One thing that I found challenging while shooting the first time was manually focusing everything. Even though the rangefinder system makes it really easy where you kind of line up two images together to make sure things are in focus, I'm just not used to manual focusing, so I was a lot slower than usual trying to get these shots, but I guess that's something that comes with time and practice and using this camera a lot. So hopefully I will improve on that in the future. So since we've been in a lockdown for a really long time here in Ontario, I haven't been able to take my camera anywhere super cool or like a cool provincial park or anything, since we've been trying to stay mostly in our area. So with my first fresh roll of film, I was able to capture a few photos from my balcony and a quick day trip that we did to Hamilton. So here are a couple of photos from the first fresh roll of film that I got back from Canadian Film Lab. This was Portra 400, and this is how it turned out. And finally, I decided to be brave enough to bring my film camera to a couple of sessions that we had here in between the stay-at-home orders. And I was really excited to get these scans back, and I was happy that at least out of a roll of about 30 to 35 shots, I got at least half of them that I really loved. So again, I was definitely overexposing, as I read on the internet that you're supposed to do on all of these rolls, and this is how some of the photos turned out. So overall, I have really loved my experience with the Leica M6 over the last couple months. I'm still very much new to this camera, but I'm excited to keep incorporating it into my work just because it's so much fun to use. I love how the photos are coming out, and I love just learning something totally new and different from my usual, because it has, especially after this lockdown and feeling like my creativity hasn't been at its best, being able to put myself outside of my comfort zone has really inspired me to be creative again, and has helped me, just create something just for myself as well. Thank you so much for watching my first YouTube video. I hope it was a little bit informative. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And yeah, thank you so much for watching my first YouTube video.